What's up with it, guys? So we are in a grab on the way over to Cho Lon with the Chinatown for Saigon. It's District 5. We're gonna go meet up with the homie, the food expert. So if you guys enjoyed our previous collaboration, hopefully you'll enjoy this one. My favorite dim sum spot, it looks like it's closed, so I'm gonna go see if they're still open, and if not, we're gonna find some other one, and we're gonna peep some of the culture in Saigon's most interesting neighborhood.
Hey guys, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're all having a great day out there, and yeah, it's great to be here again. We just met last month in Thailand, and now we're here in Vietnam, so I'm super excited that Jay is going to show me a couple of things around here, because I haven't been back in Vietnam in 7 years, so I'm really excited to explore the streets here and check out this city.
All right, guys, so we got Mr. Food Expert making the dope shots.
Oh yeah, you guys, we got some good slow motion shots for you guys, some slow motion action.
So check it out. This is starting to get a little wet, so we're gonna go try to either find some food or a place to chill for a minute. Maybe we'll try to get them over to the Joan of Arc Cathedral, also not so far from here. Hopefully the rain doesn't day up.
Every place in Southeast Asia has got a Chinatown, and yeah, there's a very high concentration of people that can actually speak Mandarin here and Cantonese, because it's just so ingrained in their culture. And I mean, they've been mixing with the Vietnamese here for a very long time, and even they were one nation like thousands of years ago, so they've got a lot of ties to each other.
Well, this area is the oldest part of Saigon, so this was like a Chinese free trade city before they had like a concept of a Vietnamese national identity. This area at one point was controlled by the Cham, at one point controlled by Cambodia. I mean, everybody has had this piece of land, but it wasn't really worth anything until around the Vietnam War, when the city really grew. The French had built a lot of Saigon, but it was still a relatively small city until the war.
Yeah.
All the money coming in with the economy for the GIs, to sell the GIs cigarettes or drugs or girls, made Saigon very rich.
That makes sense.
You know, so, I mean, and there was a lot of money coming through here during the war.
And that was a whole 20 years or more that war kept on going on. And yeah, I mean, basically you have Saigon as the biggest city of Vietnam, because the economy, the work ethics here are just the best in the country.
They're the easiest to do business with, I'll tell you that. If you're gonna do any kind of business out here or work out here, Saigon is where you're probably going to have one of the better experiences. The Saigonese, they like foreigners generally.
Yeah.
So there's sort of this instant like assumption that you're decent. It's not like suspicion. It's like warmth.
Yeah, they trust foreigners more than the people from Hanoi or some of the other smaller cities.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. I would say also that like this, the thing with Saigon is that it's very international. Like, you're gonna see a lot of like brands and things here, whereas if you were walking around in Hanoi, you'd see much less like Western products,
yeah.
Western brands, for better or for worse. I mean, for a tourist, I think Hanoi is better. But for living and actually like, spending a long time in Vietnam, I think Saigon's better. So it really depends on what your purposes are in Vietnam, whether it's just to be here to make some money or to be here to travel, Saigon gets overlooked a lot because it's not as old as Hanoi. It doesn't have as much for a tourist to see necessarily. But the reason Saigon is cool is not always obvious. It's like you really got to be here for a minute to see why Saigon is cool,
Yeah, I mean, it's the hustle bustle. Of course, if you want to chill, you can go to some of the more countryside towns like Bac Leo or some of the Mekong Delta cities around there.
Mita, Kanta.
Yeah.
You know, there's the tourists, they all take them out to Mita because that's the closest place to get out on the Delta over here.
And that's like the tourist trip that everyone does, basically.
Most people come here, they'll go take a trip into the Delta, and then they'll get up to like the central Vietnam or the north pretty quick. Most people will spend a day or two in Saigon, so they don't really get a chance to see Saigon.
Yeah, it's more of like a travel hub, like even though it's in the south, but like you really go all over Vietnam. You go to Hoi An, which is probably the most touristy town in all of Vietnam.
Yeah.
You know how small the town is compared to how many tourists come through, and people get tailor-made suits. People get tailor-made suits over there, and they get other, you know, touristy things. And then also there's Da Nang, which is like also relatively touristy and a bigger city than some of the other, like Canton is like some medium-sized city here, but Da Nang is like the third biggest city, right?
Yes, it's one of the biggest cities in the country. Most people don't realize that Canton looks small because of their little downtown, but it's actually quite sprawling. Like, I've spent some time out there. When I first moved to Vietnam, we went out to Canton, and it's just a nice city, very, very relaxed. You walk up and down the Mekong River. It has a Cambodia vibe. You know, there's not much to do, you know? Yeah,
there's a lot of trips going to Cambodia from Canton area.
The main thing is they take you out on the Delta, you know, and they show you how the floating markets and how the people live.
Taxis here.
No, you got to be careful with the taxis if you don't know the city. Sometimes things happen, you know, people get kidnapped, they get roofied. I mean, it's not super, super common, but it happens. You want to stick, if you're going to use a taxi, use Vinasun or one of the bigger brands, but it's really better if you just use a Grab because there's some level of accountability. You know, you have, like, if something happens to you, you'll at least get your refund, you know? Like,
yeah. And they're not going to steal your possessions.
Well, they'll use fake Grabs too. They'll use their cousin's account or something, but at least it's a little bit safer, you know? All right, so this is the Joan of Arc Cathedral, bro.
Yeah, this is like the main one. I mean, when did they build this? Was this like 1920s or 1910s or what?
I actually don't know, but it was definitely built by the French. It's one of the older parts of Saigon, so it's probably one of the older cathedrals.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, right? Like, the French brought out the Jesus, you know? They call him Jésus here.
Jésus.
Jésus. And the way they interpret Christianity is different than you and I. Like, the way they interpret Christianity is neon lights and like Jesus with neon halos and like, yeah, they sometimes will light up the whole churches with neon, and yeah, it can be kind of cool actually.
Yeah.
I mean, when you bring a religion to a country, you kind of have to adapt it to the way people think, you know? You couldn't try to introduce like Italian-style Roman Catholicism here because it would never work.
Yeah.
You know, so they adapt it. So you guys can't see it too much, but over there's some communist propaganda statue. Over here we have French Jesus, and back where we came from you have a Chinese temple. So I mean, Saigon has a lot going on. There's layers here, guys. There is layers going on in this city. And if you just come here as a tourist, it's really hard to see all the different levels that are going on in Saigon.
Yeah, there is just so many layers upon this city, I feel like, and so much history. Good and ugly sides of the history. I mean, just really, but it's an amazing city and country. I just love Vietnam. When I'm in Vietnam, I just feel like the people are so warm and friendly, and the food is so fresh and unique.
Oh, I love the food. The food is my favorite in Southeast Asia.
You take French food and then mix it with like Asian or Chinese kind of traditional food, and then you take the best of both worlds, and that's what Vietnamese food is.
It is, but today we're in Chinatown, so we need to go try to find us some good Chinese food.
Yeah, some dim sum or some other traditional Chinese food, anything. But like hopefully with the local twist of the style of Vietnamese Chinese food.
Oh, definitely. Just like I'm from New York, and we have a New York kind of answer to Chinese food, which would be nothing like the food in China, but it's still pretty good.
And it's consistently evolving, so they adapt and use different methods of cooking for the, you know, the basic style that they're going for, whatever that is, and they are just innovative. That's how Chinatowns around the world have been for hundreds of years, giving you a fortune cookie, giving you different kinds of style of chow mein that they don't have in mainland China, or like Surgeon General's pork or whatever. Like, it's not in China.
Right.
It's just adapted to
the place
here.
you're in. Yeah. And we're gonna go get lost, and hopefully we're gonna go find some of that today. Maybe see what else we can run into walking around District 5. All right, guys. So one of the reasons why there's so many Catholics in the south of Vietnam was when they were partitioning the country north and south, they kind of gave a leeway for the communists to go north and for the Catholics, which were at the time the ruling minority that was controlling Saigon, to go south. So if you go to places in like Vung Tau or even here in Saigon, there are cities that are like Vung Tau is almost a majority Christian city.
Yeah.
They actually have a giant Jesus statue right in the middle of the city, and most of those people are from the north. So a lot of the Catholics that came down right as the country was partitioned between communist and the French South. It's a very interesting kind of way that it all worked out, because it was almost like a trade of people.
Yeah, and I noticed going up to like Dalat and some of the other cities, you see a lot more churches, like very small churches, but they're all over the place. So these small towns are kind of like a Christian town, and then you have, of course, like other religions in between there. But yeah, a lot of people are Catholic that kind of moved into the southern areas, and it just makes a lot of sense that they would kind of get into different areas and zones where they felt more accepted and more among people that believed in the same things.
Well, if you guys come with us on this week, maybe it will be a Tuesday, I think we're going to do it. We're going to walk around District 3, which is another area that most of the tourists don't see so much of. They see the War Museum, and that's about it. So I'm going to go by where the burning monk statue was. And the reason for the burning monk was that they were persecuting Buddhists because the government in the South was a Catholic government. And that's what led to kind of alienating the Buddhists, which was a tremendous blow to the chances of South Vietnam. But it's very interesting down here because it all comes down to the family you talk to. People have this assumption in America that, they must hate Americans, and that's not true at all. China's a more pressing threat to them, really, and they invaded much more recently than the Americans did. And a lot of people in Saigon would have preferred the Americans to stay. A lot of the families here in the South benefited tremendously from having the Americans here. So, it really can come down to the individual you talk to, their opinion. And I think it's important when you come to a place like Saigon to just be open-minded and listen to what local people tell you, because a lot of preconceived notions just don't really work here,
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. The difference is of, the threat of America. Of course, we're not coming back here for anything at all, but the Chinese keep on pressing the border, I'm guessing, of the Vietnamese border, which they did back in the 1980s, I believe, right?
It's with the islands too. It's they invaded actually Vietnam because when the war ended, there was a split between the communists. Yeah, so the Vietnamese sided with the Soviet Union rather than with communist China. So, this led to China invading and then the Vietnamese repelling them again. But China's invaded Vietnam over thousands of years. They were under different Vietnamese were colonized by the Chinese for like a pretty long time. I don't know the exact amount of time, but it was several different dynasties. The Mongolians even tried coming down here.
Wow.
And every single time the Vietnamese use the same strategy. They retreat into the nature, and eventually they pick a way at them and chase them out.
It's crazy. They really have their tactics, and they have it down so well that it could, even a sophisticated army at the time in the 1970s and 60s could not even get the Vietnamese out of here. So it's just a bad idea to try to come in and mess with Vietnam. No one should mess with Vietnam.
It never works, and they've all tried it. The French, the Chinese, the Mongolians, the Japanese for a while. That's actually how the Vietnamese communists kind of originally got their boost, was because the Japanese were colonizing Vietnam at the time during World War II, and the CIA, which at the time was called something different, but it was basically the CIA. They were coming in, they were training, the dissidents in the jungles, which was one of them was Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah.
So they were providing Ho Chi Minh with training and weapons and this type of thing. It's just funny how everything interconnects. They had a real opportunity there because Ho Chi Minh wasn't a diehard communist. He was a nationalist, and he wanted a country for his people. If America would have told the French, you know, fuck your colonies, and supported, you know, Ho Chi Minh at that time, history might have been very different. So what do you think of District 5 so far?
Yeah, District 5 is cool. I like the temples. I like the cathedral. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a mix of cultures. And like you said, it's like the oldest part of Saigon.
It is,
so it's
yeah.
really a cool place to explore, and not many tourists come here. So I think that it's pretty awesome. Thanks for showing me around here.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not as good of a guide as a local, but I do, you know, I know some cool places. Let's see what we can get into.
Yeah, it's just so awesome to come here after 7 years of not being here.
You were here 7 years ago.
Yeah, 7 years ago for like a whole month. And I was just, you know, I was blown away by it then, but now it's just like things are changing. Subways are, of course, not being built still, but it's cool to see all the changes and, you know, the evolution of Vietnam, what's going on now, as opposed to 10 years ago. I mean, it's like a kind of a different world. There's 4 times the amount of cars now compared to there was like 10 years ago.
For sure. And, you know, they pay a huge amount of tax on cars here.
Yeah.
So if you have a car here, even a shitty car, you're pretty rich. Because they paid that car over 5 times at least.
Yeah, I just feel like that doesn't make much sense to have such a high tax on cars. But I guess they are just trying to keep it more motorbikes because it keeps it safer for the motorbikers that are here already.
Well, the city wouldn't work. Like, you see here, we're on a big boulevard, you know, and everything looks like open, but a lot of the city is crazy alleyways. If you had cars, the traffic would stop. I mean,
yeah,
you know, because, you know, the motorbikes are smaller, they can maneuver a little better. And I've still been in traffic to where you can't walk down the street because it's wall-to-wall motorbikes. I mean, there's 13 million people here officially, and I would venture to guess there's many more, you know. People commute all the way from the Mekong Delta to work here.
yeah.
So every day there's millions and millions of motorbikes that are kind of converging on Saigon.
Yeah, the pay is just so much higher here than it is in other cities around the area. So, of course, people are going to be coming in who work for 3 days. They're going to stay in a kind of a dormitory, work, and then maybe go back to their kind of house in the village.
Yeah, and you know, the thing with Vietnam is you can always scale down your costs and you can scale up, and there's really no limit to how low you can go. You know, you can find housing here if you're a local for $40, $50 a month, but it's not going to be something that you would want to live in personally as an expat, you know?
And I think another cool thing is some of these like little rooms for rent and stuff, even in this main city center, you can get a really nice, decent room for like $250, $200. I mean, the options are really endless.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're looking for. For me personally, I live in high rises usually. I don't live down in the city center anymore, but for the first few years I did, and I got crazy sick from all the dust and the pollution and working in the public schools with the kids who hygiene standards are not the same as the West. And I got pneumonia and I got a blood clot in my stomach. I ended up in the fucking hospital for 2 weeks. So I started moving more towards buildings that are high.
Yeah.
Because above the 10th floor, there's no dust and there's no mosquitoes. So dengue becomes not a thing anymore.
So there is actually dengue fever that you have to worry about here in Saigon and Vietnam in general.
It's not common, but it happens, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's as bad as if you were gonna go into like the bush here, like out towards the border of Cambodia or something, but like in the cities, for the most part, you know, it's not a big problem, but yeah, people get it. People get dengue here, sure.
And how much percentage of people die that get dengue if they did end up getting it?
Well, I don't know, but I heard it's a pretty horrible fucking flu. Like, it's like really not a good feeling for pretty long. One of my buddies had it in Thailand. He was a fighter. He was living in the, you know, on the top of the gym. That's where they were sponsoring him. So they put a tent on top of the gym, let him stay there. And he got dengue and he was fucked up for like 2 weeks.
So it really, yeah, sometimes you stay in a place, you really pay more in the end. If you know, go really cheap on your housing, or where you stay, the area you stay really could have a lot more swampland and a lot more.
Sure, and you could end up in a situation where you're basically paying a lot of that money you saved into your medical bills.
Yeah.
You know, the hospitals in Vietnam are relatively competent in Saigon and in the bigger cities, you know? Saigon is gonna be the best place for a hospital. Like if you get sick, this is where you wanna be. The private system here is pretty good, and there's a few public hospitals that aren't so bad either. But if you're really, really sick, you don't wanna be anywhere but Saigon.
Oh man, so the other cities, Hanoi's okay, maybe Da Nang.
Yeah, like they'll be competent for some things, but the people who are really rich in Hanoi, they come to Saigon when they need treatment. Because this is where all the best paid doctors are, and it's just, you know, the best hospitals.
I just love all these little shops here. They're just like selling some keys and some. Sometimes you can even find a ba 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 beer, but it's not a
Ba ba ba, you know, 333.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, I just love the kind of street side culture here. Mostly anyone can set up a stand anywhere they want. But I was noticing that they're cracking down on the stands that are here in the city center, at least. Like not here in this city center, but like the one near the palace. Like they don't want street vendors in that main park walking area.
They chase them away, they come back, then they chase them away, and then they come back, yeah. I've been there when they all pick up and run at the same time, and have you been there for that yet?
I saw that. We saw that the other day. They are all running down the street, and you just know, oh crap.
It's Vietnam, man. The rules are enforced, but you know, after a while they get tired and want to have a cafe suada and chill, and then the stands come back. And
the police even want them back.
That's what I'm saying. That's who's doing it, man. They need a break, take their shoes off for a bit, you know. Like, that's one of the things I love about Vietnam is like things work better in some ways than Cambodia, but there's still a lot of freedom here in some respects, you know.
What do you feel like? I mean, the one crazy thing that I saw last night was the fire-breathing boys that are like 6 years old, and some of them are like 12, and some are 10. And I saw this one kid that's like 6 or 5 years old. He was so young, breathing fire, and it's just
Were you guys on Boi Vien?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the best face of Saigon, you know. It's better than it was years ago because the recent visa purge, a lot of those sex tourist types, they couldn't survive it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's gotten a little bit more chill now, but it's still, you know, anytime in Southeast Asia where there's a lot of foreigners, there's a lot of people who want to give their services to those foreigners. And, you know, unfortunately, it's a poor country, and, you know, you're going to have that. Cambodia, I think, is worse in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In the Riverside, I had way more like groups of kids following me, and you know, here you see it, and for sure you're gonna see some poverty here. But you know, it's just it's Vietnam.
Yeah, it's just kind of pointless to have kids running around doing fire shows. I mean, I can understand if they're a 20-year-old doing it and they're doing it professionally, and you know, they're not getting scarred from it because they're doing it really carefully every time. These kids, they go out there and they're just doing it, they get their mouths covered in the gasoline and somehow they get burned. And it's just like...
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm positive that happens. But that's like I said, man, it's life, you know? You live here long enough and these things become kind of normal.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So we're in D5. And yeah, we just finished up at the cathedral. We're heading over to get some dim sum. But yeah, it's your first time here, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna go have some Hong Kong Chinese food, which is, you know, going to be nostalgic for me, and we'll see. We'll be the judges and see how good it is.
Yeah, I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Hope it lives up to your standard.
Yeah, and thanks for showing us around, because I got here just 3 days ago, and I pretty much stayed at District 1.
Right.
Near the Bentham Market.
Yeah, Bentham Market.
Mm-hmm. And right here is quite very different. I think the roads are broader. It's like feels easier to go around, and we have seen almost like zero tourists, maybe except for ourselves.
Yeah, District 5 is like, there's not many tourists at all. Garbage, yeah. This is like typical Vietnam.
So you've lived here for 3-4 years?
4 years, yeah. We've been here 4 years.
Yeah.
We left just before the really bad pandemic.
Yeah. Any advice for beginners like me? It's my absolute first time to visit Vietnam as a country. So I'm here in Ho Chi Minh for just a week, and I don't know, I've made a fair bit of mistakes already.
Okay, sorry guys, the battery died, but we were talking about tips for first timers in Ho Chi Minh City.
Right.
So I would say be very careful with the taxis because there's like fake taxis here, right? So there's two trustworthy taxis if you have to get a taxi, Mei Lin and Vinasun, but there's like carbon copies of them as well. Like you'll see the green with the yellow print, but it's not really Mei Lin.
Right.
So you just gotta watch out, and if you really need a taxi, just make sure it's like a real one. Make sure they put the meter on, stuff like that.
Does Grab or Gojek or any app solve that problem?
Yeah, it does. It does 100%. Like most of the time we use Gojek because they're a little bit cheaper. But sometimes Grab is cheaper as well, and you'll avoid all the taxi BS with that.
Right. So there's like no particular color to look for, then they're legit. You just have to be careful all the time with taxis.
Yeah, you just gotta check the logo, make sure there's like no extra letters or something.
Have you been on the back of a motorbike before?
Yes.
Okay, and
Many
how does that feel like?
It's crazy. When I first started riding a motorbike, I was terrified. But like after a while, you get used to it. And another tip would be
To the market.
try not to like if you go on a motorbike with your purse or something, try to like put it in between your legs, or let's go,
Nice.
or like try to hide it because they're really good at snatching them here. And there's so many more motorbikes here than in Bangkok or Cambodia. The likelihood
have
is
to agree
higher.
200% because I just came here from Bangkok, and I mean coming here just speaks 1,000 words, you know, just feel it for yourself because they are both developing countries in Southeast Asia. A lot of people love Thailand and Vietnam, but yeah, first thing I noticed is like the number of motorbikes it's really
There's way more.
And the honking is a lot more.
Yes,
in
it's way more
Vietnam.
noisy as well.
It is. And now we're walking through a local market. Yeah, we just crossed the streets together.
Yeah, that was
four
crazy.
people. Maybe that's another piece of advice, just to always cross the street with other people.
Yes, try to cross the street with other people and try to stay in like a line as you cross. It's a little bit easier for them to go around the entire line than if like everyone's in a different spot.
Right. I've been bitten a lot by mosquitoes here. So my blood type is O+. So I'm, apparently very loving, and they love me too, the mosquitoes. So is there any particular, I don't know, like repellent or whatever you use here? Do you get bit a lot here?
Yeah, usually I'll buy like some lavender mosquito thing, or they hate citronella too. Mosquitoes really hate citronella, lavender, stuff like that.
Right.
The bug spray is pretty cheap here. It's like, I think it's like a little over $1 for a small bottle, so.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I use.
But yeah, I was just told that Thailand/Bangkok is for like Southeast Asia beginners, which is what I am.
Yes.
And
definitely.
once you come to Vietnam, it's like intermediate levels, right?
Yeah.
It's
Intermediate,
certainly
advanced, depending on where you go.
Yeah.
Like Ho Chi Minh City is like advanced for
So
sure.
right now our cameraman is doing a great job because it's so hard just to like walk here sometimes, and he's trying to film us while walking.
Yeah.
So kudos to the cameraman.
Not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of, I guess like food, I personally like love Thai food, but I suspect that Vietnamese is gonna take over first place for me.
Really?
Is that how you feel? How do you feel?
Yes, I love Vietnamese food, but I think it's because of the vegetables. They use like a lot of vegetables in their food, and their food's really healthy. Like sometimes when I eat Thai food for like a month, it's too greasy.
Yeah.
It's too
Sugary.
Too sugary, too spicy.
Yeah, Thai food is great, very sensational, but in terms of like sustainable, healthier option, just like 2-3 days eating Vietnamese food, I just feel like, the soup, like the clear broth, and then like the steamed spring rolls and things like that. The, not too big portion kind of banh mi, the baguette thingy.
Yeah.
I really like it.
It's nice, right?
Yeah.
And
Now
I feel
guys,
like the food is cheap. I feel like the food is cheap too. Like you can get a bowl of soup for like 50 cents.
Do you think that the prices are comparable here in Thailand?
I think so.
Yeah, because I think your currency radar is probably better than mine.
Yeah, the thing is like Thailand, the food at the level of the same price is like more fried. If you get something for Thailand 50 cents, it's going to be deep fried. Whereas here, maybe not. Maybe it's going to be rice or soup or spring roll.
Yeah,
you
I'll
know?
take your word for it.
Summer roll.
Yeah, but in general, I feel like with $3-4, you eat okay.
Yes.
Like a decent bowl of pho and maybe a side, a snack,
Yeah.
a smoothie, right? Just for context, we were talking about like the number of motorbikes, and now we're standing, at street side,
Yeah.
and like the ratio between cars, like automobiles, and like motorbikes is like what? Like eight motorbikes to one two,
car.
like yeah, kind of like that, like
Yeah.
8 to 1.
Sometimes more.
Yeah.
Sometimes more. It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's my first time in Vietnam, and then I was just like Googling, Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon versus Hanoi and all that. And now that I've been here, and we were just talking about what you think about Saigon. So how would you compare?
I really love Hanoi. It's like one of the most beautiful cities in Southeast Asia. It's a work of art. The food is amazing. It's much more laid back than here. There's a lot less people. And, it's only about 7.5 million, whereas Saigon is like over 13. But the pollution in Hanoi is much worse than here.
Oh,
Like the air quality at times, you can't even be outside really. It's like Beijing. Maybe it doesn't go into the 400 PM level, but it goes to the above 200 to 300. So it can be really bad to be outside in Hanoi. Also, there's a difference in business culture. So if you're coming to Vietnam as a tourist, then I would say Hanoi is better for you because it's going to be more of a pure look at the culture. There's a lot more things to see near Hanoi. But if you're just coming to live here, do business, and actually like have a quality of life, I would prefer Saigon just because the air quality on average is a lot better down here.
and what's the norm when people address like the capital city? Do they say Ho Chi Minh City more often, or do they say Saigon?
Locals say Saigon.
Okay.
People in the north say Saigon.
Okay.
Some people say Ho Chi Minh. I don't think it's such a big deal, really.
Right.
I mean, it's Ho Chi Minh City. That's what it is. But
Right.
if you talk to local people, they say Saigon.
Saigon.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
Hanoi. It's actually there are two words.
Right.
We pronounce it as one word in English, but it's not how they pronounce it.
I noticed that at the War Museum yesterday, that even Vietnam is like two words.
Yeah,
Vietnam.
It's because Vietnam, the culture that's dominant comes from the empire called Dai Viet, which was kind of around Hoa Lu and Ninh Binh in the north.
I see.
Down here, the people are called Minh Nam, people in the south.
Minh Nam.
Yeah, and the people in the north are called Minh Bac. And the people in the center of Vietnam are called Minh Chong. So,
like people north, people center, people south.
right, basically. And they're really different from each other. Their accents are very different. The food they eat is very different. And the way they see the world is very different.
Oh.
A lot of the people down here, if you get outside of Saigon, you go more into the countryside, a lot of these people also speak Khmer. A lot of them are Khmer.
Right.
They just were absorbed over into Vietnamese culture as the power, as who controlled the region changed. So, I mean, it's a really mixed area, Southeast Asia. There's a lot of different things that have come through this place and changed this place for, whether it be empires or just influence. I mean, that's why it's an Asian country that drinks coffee and eats bread,
Yeah, it has really good baguettes. I tried my banh mi. I tried a vegetarian one yesterday. It was
Right, those are good.
good.
Yeah, banh mi is good here,
So,
but
so
banh mi in
good.
Hanoi, I probably make some enemies, but I think it's better. I like banh mi in Hanoi and banh mi in Hoi An are my favorite, but
Put it in the
Saigon's
comment section down below. Do you agree with him?
good. Yeah, which one do you like? Do you like Hanoi banh mi better, or do you like Saigon,
Yeah.
Hue? I don't know, just throw it in the comments.
And I'll have to come back because I'm only here in Saigon for 5 days and back to Thailand. But look forward to coming back. You were talking about accents, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I speak Cantonese, and it's somewhat, right, like with tones, like it sounds similar, but they're totally different.
Sure.
And you mentioned like in North, Middle, South Vietnam, that the accents are different. What's your take? Like, just for the linguists out there
I think that
watching.
The Hanoi language to me sounds a little prettier. I can understand it a little bit better, even though I learned how to speak more Vietnamese here in the South.
Yeah.
They tend to say Z more in the North and Y more in the South. So like
Z and Y.
yeah, it's more a Z is like a Y in Saigon, and the sound in the North is more of a Z. Like I'll try to give you an example. So all right, left, right.
Okay.
In the South, it would be whale chai, whale phi.
Will chai, will fi.
The tongue, go straight.
The tongue.
Right?
Okay.
And in the North, it would be ze chai, ze phi.
Ah.
So you see what I mean?
Z, yes.
I'm pretty far from a linguist, but our teacher was from the North. Our teacher was Min Bak.
Okay.
But we lived in Saigon, so we had to learn some Min Bak and some Min Nam.
Right.
And it's funny because after 4 years, I'm still maybe on the level of like a 4 or 5 year old. It's a really difficult language.
Right. That's how I feel too.
So I just want to know like how fast everything changed. Like it's the same as it was, but it's like things are definitely changing. Honestly, I just feel like Vietnam, it used to be so much more affordable than it is now.
Yes.
Like, the prices have definitely like almost doubled in the last like 15 years.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, since I was here last time, things have definitely like gone up another like 30, 40%.
Wow. When were you here last time?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. Okay. So we got here 2017, and then we were here 4 years in a row, basically.
Okay.
Like we went a couple trips to, I think it was Malaysia and then Australia.
Thailand.
Oh yeah, Thailand to visit, Thailand for like visa run, but Aussie to visit my family. And since then, even, I just noticed the price go up after.
Yeah, so everything's kind of gone up in
Like,
that kind of way.
yeah, like the price of a taxi.
So it's a big shock actually for you to come back after like only not being here for like a year or so.
Yeah.
Being in Albania and being other places, and you come back and then the price is jacked up like 25%.
Yes, especially like transport and housing, I noticed,
Oh wow.
are like way more expensive than just 1 year ago.
What's the hardest part about living in Vietnam for you? What's like the most difficult part about living here?
Probably riding on the motorbike, because I had to do it every single day to go to public school, because I worked at public school. So 4 times a day I got to be on the motorbike most of the time, and it was like kind of intimidating.
When I was here 7 years ago, there was definitely a better ratio of motorbikes, way better ratio. And now there's like probably 40%, 50% more cars.
Yes.
We're crossing the street. The crosswalks don't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Like
They're like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you never know when it's gonna turn. Overall, like the driving culture has definitely changed. It's gotten more chaotic with the cars, but like the motorbikes are in a lot more danger. Like I even met someone had their brother die. So like lots of people die on the motorbike.
Yes.
And so it is a lot more dangerous to ride a motorbike now than it was like 5 or 6 years ago when there was like a little bit less cars. I mean, when I was here the first time in 2011, it was like 10% cars and everybody was driving a motorbike. Now it's like you see cars a lot more.
Yes. Even since we've been here, since 2017 till now, it's like there's more cars.
Yeah.
Even in those 4 years, like I noticed more cars as well.
Yeah, so it's just so interesting, the evolution of change here in Vietnam. It's just not the same as the old days. It is a new kind of city. I mean, at least Saigon is a new kind of city. It's the clothes that all the younger kids generation is wearing now. It's completely different than 6 years ago. It's like K-pop. K-pop is taking over.
They love like BTS or Blackpink or whatever. Yeah.
They're wearing very Japanese, trendy, Korean clothes. Like just very, weird styles compared to what they were wearing before. They had style before, but
what
now
was it before? Like more US style?
It was just, Yeah, basically
Like
just
Western?
more Western style, but I mean, they wear their traditional clothes, maybe for a wedding, but like they have got this, now that it's just very trendy. They're wearing very sexy clothes now, more sexy than before. They were more reserved, I feel like. But like the younger generation that's like 20 years old here, they just have changed to wearing like a lot more revealing
Yes.
clothes. It was very revealing. I was like, these kids are only like 18 years old, and their parents are letting them walk out of the house with like basically a bikini on. So what do you find is your favorite district here in Saigon when you're here? Where do you find yourself enjoying the most?
I live in Binh Tan, and I like Binh Tan because it's very connected. It has kind of the closest thing that Saigon has to highways. So I can get to District 1 or District 2 very quickly. I like the area because it's a mix of Vietnamese and also modern, like more luxury development. It's got a Japantown. But for tourists, I like this area the best. If I have a friend in town who's never been to Saigon or hasn't spent much time in Saigon, aside from District 1, I think this is the most interesting neighborhood. I would put it in order of District 1, 5, and then 3 for like a tourist for things to see.
Yeah.
And then if you have a lot of extra time, there's some really crazy stuff, but it's hidden in more peripheral districts. And because there's no subway here, you do have to, use, a Grab or a motorbike. So yeah, you have to use either a Grab or a motorbike. And it depends how much time you have and how much of the city you really want to see. But there is some incredible temples like out in District 2 and in District 9 that tourists don't go to because they're very far from the center, This is very close to the center. It's only 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, it is. And you could walk like here in like 45 minutes, or you could take a taxi in like 15 minutes. The traffic is just crazy though during certain times. You're actually better off walking here in Saigon sometimes, unless you ride a motorbike.
Yeah, if you're gonna live here long term, you wanna get a bike because the transportation isn't so expensive, but it can become a little bit expensive.
Yeah.
And if you need to use cars, it can get expensive quickly. But it's also safer.
Yeah, cars are a lot safer. It can definitely be the biggest expense of your whole daily life. If you're driving around in taxis, if you take 3 taxis per day, that's very quickly adding up to like $15 US. And I mean, that is enough money to live like a king here.
If you want to live here and actually be here, and you plan to do any kind of English teaching or working, you want to live as close to where you work as possible.
Yeah.
For me, because I make my money online, I just base myself where the nearest jiu-jitsu clubs are, because that's the main thing that I need where I live. And as long as I have, comforts and some food and things nearby, I'm good, But I tell you, if you were really thinking about spending time in this city, you really want to kind of have your logistics in mind when you look for an apartment.
Yeah. And it is definitely a mess when you have to go from point A to point B and going all around the city in a day. It really can be stressful to your life. So I mean, it is better to just like live in the center where you want to be.
Yeah, when you first get here, I do suggest people go to the center, but I would suggest District 3 over District 1 because District 3 is a little bit more local and it will be a little bit more of an experience in Vietnam rather than District 1.
Yeah.
But if you have any kind of kids or you have any kind of health problems, you want to go out to like Tao Dien or District 7 or District 9. You want to go get yourself into a high rise and get away from the center because the center is very dusty and very polluted. But again, if you're just here as a tourist, all the cool stuff is in the center.
And it's not just the normal pollution, it's like motorbike pollution that stays low to the ground. You can't see the pollution in the sky, it's actually all on the ground.
Some days you can, some days you can still see it in the sky. And but they burn the cheapest coal you can find here. So the coal, it's not good.
Yeah.
And that's how they power the city. And then you have the motorbikes and the brake pedals being worn down, and that's in the air. And there's also massive construction projects, and all that's in the air. And asbestos is not illegal here, so that's also everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely feel it in my lungs with all these motorbikes. It is getting worse and worse. It was bad when I was here back like 8 years ago, but it is definitely a lot more serious than it was before.
This is quieter for us because we left right during the pandemic, and a lot of people went back to their hometowns in the countryside and just have not come back.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to get food here during the lockdown. So some people are just like go stay with their family out in their hometowns, and then they don't bother. Oh, he just ran over his helmet.
Yeah. someone's helmet fell down.
So I actually feel like it's a little bit less crazy than normal, but this area is always a little hectic. Well, that's why you got to look, because some of it is very expensive.
Yeah.
But some of it's not. I mean, it all depends on the place you find. That's the thing. I don't know D5 so well. So for me, it's a little bit like walking around here. I got to look at Google. I got to kind of take a guess. I mostly lived in District 3 for about 3 years, and then in between Bintan and District 2 for the rest of the time I was here.
Yeah.
So I came to D5, but I didn't come to D5 very often. I was a public school teacher, but I wasn't a public school teacher in this area. I taught out in an area called Tan Phu, which is about like 45 minutes on a motorbike from the center.
So you came here like every month or so to just
Once
check
in
it
a
out.
while to go walk around because it's interesting here, and you know, you can really see the pure Vietnamese culture here. Even though Chinatown has a lot of Chinese people, it also has a lot of local Vietnamese people.
Well, they're Chinese Vietnamese, so they've adopted the Chinese kind of style of living with the Vietnamese customs and cultures. And you know, they do speak Mandarin and maybe some Cantonese, but they're purely Vietnamese at heart.
Yeah, and there's like ethnic Vietnamese that live around here too, because District 4 is just next to here, and District 4 is sort of like a Vietnamese, like kind of very Vietnamese neighborhood that looks very similar to this.
Yeah.
It's designed in a very similar way, like. But what makes this area so interesting is all the old architecture.
Yeah, so right now we're just taking a quick mini stop break to get some water. There's Family Mart, mini stop, and then there's also Circle K. Which is the winner of the fast food, you know, quick stop places?
For me, it's always going to be mini stop, because when I first moved here, the street that I lived on had a mini stop on the corner, and we would eat sometimes like, you know, the real cheap like rice dishes they have or whatever, and you know, it was just like a first place that I kind of familiarized myself with Vietnam. So it's probably not the best place, but it has the best memories.
And Family Mart just kind of started opening up more branches here in Saigon, just like the past 8 years or so. But I found that Mini Stop, they have got a lot of Filipino products. So imported beer from the Philippines and other things from the Philippines. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure if it's a Japanese or a Filipino chain that decided to open up in Vietnam, like Jollibee. But yeah, no, Family Mart is totally 100% Japanese. I don't think there's any 7-Eleven here though.
There are. There's a 7-Eleven in my building.
Oh wow.
And then when you walk in, they say 7-Eleven Xin Chao.
Wow, so it's actually come finally. Because
There was one here for a while, but it was only one in District 1.
Oh wow.
Next to very close to the cathedral in District 1, there was a 7-Eleven, but I don't know if it's still there, if it made it through the pandemic.
Because 7-Eleven in Thailand has got the best food.
Yeah,
I would say,
everywhere. Yeah.
Out of everything. Like Family Mart also has good food in Thailand, but 7-Eleven's number one. But yeah, you're one to go to when you're in Vietnam is Mini Stop.
Oh yeah. It's just for memories. That's really all it is. It's because when I first moved here, there was one on our street. I got no idea which is the best one, honestly, Doc.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, definitely in Thailand, 7-Eleven for sure.
Thailand's way more convenient for food at these places.
One thing I find here in Vietnam is that the food is so good on the street that, you know, the convenience shops can't even compete with it. In Thailand, they try their best to compete and make their food really amazing and sweet, or have a lot of options for, you know, kind of street food delicacies in Thailand. But like here in Vietnam, I think that they just gave up, and the food is mediocre in the little quick shops, all the little quick stop places, you know, Circle K, 7-Eleven, Family Mart. they're all like kind of mediocre, but that's because they just have too much competition. They're just like that backup for the backups, and they're not like heavily sought after, I would say.
Oh yeah, because the street food here, everybody specializes in. It's so good that you could, you know, what you pay for a meal at a 7-Eleven, you could get a good meal on the street here for that. You know?
But I find that Thailand actually tries their very best to compete with the street food stalls. And they're
in the
not
7-Eleven,
cheap. Yeah,
right?
the 7-Eleven. Like, they actually do try, but here they just kind of gave up. They're like, well, we can't quite make the banh mi the same way, you know, make it that high quality as on the street.
Oh yeah, that's the reason McDonald's didn't survive out here. Like, I mean, they have one or two of them, but they never did well here because the people could always make the food for cheaper.
Yeah,
And they could always make it just as good and for less money.
exactly.
Now, District 5 is interesting because, believe it or not, this is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Saigon for any kind of luxury complexes or expat-style housing.
Yeah.
Because there's not so many complexes over here. This is mostly just local Vietnamese, or like you said, Vietnamese Chinese. You're gonna see a lot of like Chinese medicine stores like across the street here. They're all selling Chinese medicine, Chinese alcohol. There's of course gonna be karaoke. You know, KTV is gonna be big in this area. What do you think so far, man? You digging it?
I love this place. You know, it's got that Chinese culture. You know, I see the baijiu over there, this rice wine that's made,
yeah.
like fermented for Chinese mostly to drink, but it's a very vibrant place over here. I like it.
It is. It's like it's the real Saigon in some ways, where you walk around District 1 or that area, Boy Bien, you know, you're not really seeing the culture, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. The buildings are a bit like run down, some of them. Like you can tell that they're like 60, 70 years old, some of these buildings. They're not made to look pretty.
No, but you would be surprised. They very often remodel the interior. Hey, xin chào, bro.
The inside could be very nice and modern.
Oh yeah,
but
we've been
outside.
You see a building like this one across the street here? We were in a building like this buying some Himalayan salt off a woman in District 10 years ago. And when we got into the building, I was shocked because it was completely remodeled inside. And it looked like a modern apartment. It's just in one of these older kind of communist style buildings.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like they try to make them beautiful. They grow plants, so you see all the plants and the green coming off of them.
I love that about Vietnam, you know, just having your own little garden on your balcony. It's really beautiful, you know. They don't do that in some countries around in the area. Like they don't take pride in their balcony. Hello.
Hey, xin chào. Ciao, Em. Look at this. Tell me this isn't beautiful. You know, it has its own rugged architecture to it, you know? Hey, xin chào anh. Nước sắm. Hai ly. Bao nhiêu tiền? Hai chốt. Okay. 20, that's 20,000. Hai chốt.
20,000 for one, right?
For hai chốt một cái or hai chốt hai cái? Hai cái. Hai chốt. So I got you, bro.
20,000 for, okay.
Hai mươi nhá. Hey, come on you. Nong? Nong. All right, let's see. So this is Nuk Sam. This is ginseng.
Okay, ginseng. All right, I'll give it a try. That's pretty good. It's actually I didn't know that was the ginseng taste. It's not too sweet. It's like I think it's mixed with other like possibly a gourd. So it's ginseng and gourd together. And the gourd melon.
Oh, possibly, yeah.
So it could be the gourd melon with the ginseng inside of it.
And there's a bit of sugar. It's.
Yeah.
I used to buy these on the street. There was somebody by my house that was selling them, and they're very popular.
Want to try this?
Nuk Sam.
Oh, really good. Wow, that's delicious.
So it's Moi Nhan, Mokai. So one glass is 10,000. It's like a little bit under 50 cents.
Thank you. It's fun.
And you see, he just has real glasses, and he's got his setup here. You can buy takeaway bottles, and these are really, really popular in Saigon. People have them set up all over the city.
It's really refreshing actually, and it's not so much ginseng. I think it's more of that gourd that is like they make a kind of a tea out of the gourd, and then they add the ginseng to infuse it with
Yeah, they
it.
probably just put like some of it in there.
Yeah.
For sure, because it definitely has like a melony taste to it. But you know, I'm not entirely sure what they use it for. I know it is ginseng in it.
Very refreshing.
Ah, come on.
Hello.
Hey, Xin Chao Chi. Good evening. Ba Quay Kom. Hey, Chao Em. Hey, Chao Em.
Hello. Hi, Xin Chao.
Chao.
So yeah, they're very enthusiastic people here in this little section of town.
Saigonese are the nicest people ever. I understand the kids really well because I used to teach them. Oh, check this out over here.
Another Chinese temple.
Another beautiful Chinese temple. I love the colors they use here, the purples and you know these deep tones and very cool looking neighborhood, Cho Lon. You know, the Saigonese are nice in general, man. Like they're just nice people. Like, and I understand the kids pretty well because I taught primary school here. So I taught grade 1 through grade 5 mostly. It's a there's like anywhere from 40 to 60 kids in a class.
Oh, wow.
TA doesn't give a job. Everybody's fighting, screaming. This one's crying. Nobody knows what's going on. The schools are all open, so the pollution and the dust just comes into schools.
Yeah, they don't have air filtration systems or anything like that. So it just, yeah,
It's
everyone's
outdoors.
coughing.
You're
Oh, yeah.
outdoors. I taught at a school that was next to an open construction site that had a big black dust piles. And when the wind would blow, the dust would blow into the school.
That's the worst.
It was pretty I would teach with a mask on. I used to joke that when, you know, COVID came, I was wearing a mask here anyway.
Yeah.
You know? All right.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some Hong Kong real food here, like the Chinese food that they interpret for being Hong Kongese food.
And there is a Hong Kong expert right here, self-proclaimed. We'll see what happens later.
Hong Kong is your hometown, right?
Yes.
So this is going to be really interesting to see if it lives up to the rep.
Yeah, just flew all this way to Ho Chi Minh City. Came to District 5, which is the Chinatown of Saigon. And we found a Hong Kong restaurant, Ong Sui. How do you pronounce that?
I'm actually not sure, but I think it's Ong Sui.
Okay. Yeah, maybe the brand. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll see. Because normally, if it's like a dim sum place, right, in Hong Kong, is mostly for lunch, like breakfast or lunch kind of thing, or even maybe like afternoon tea. Not so much like for dinner. So I'm excited to see what they have. And
Yeah,
maybe
me
the
too.
owner is from Hong Kong or something.
I hope it's not makwa, which means expensive.
Yeah. Makwa, I know that one. Yeah. Makwa, too expensive.
Too expensive. All right, so we're being led in through the back way, hopefully not to the slaughter.
It's a secret passageway.
Yeah.
Oh, we got all the live shrimpies over there.
Yeah, this is like already looking promising.
Hello, Xin Chao. Very friendly staff.
Xin Chao Em.
Oh wow, nice air conditioning.
Bon Nui. Ở đây. Hey, come over here real quick. All right, tell us about what we're seeing here, bro. It looks like we have the hakao tome, and this is scallops, right?
This is a shrimp inside here. And what is that called again?
Rice noodle rolls. So like in Cantonese, it's called churn fun. Churn is like sausage, or in this context would be intestine, but it's not intestine, but it's kind of like the wrapping that makes it look like, right? Like a tube with something inside. Yeah, so it's rice noodles rolls right here with shrimp. These are all just like, you know, the popular hagao, you know, the shrimp dumplings.
You guys call it hagao?
Hagao.
They call it hakao here.
Yeah. So I noticed that actually Vietnamese and Cantonese, there are some similarities for sure. Okay, that's the custard bun, I believe.
Yeah, those are good.
Over here. Usually, I don't know, it comes in 3 pieces in Hong Kong. Like, very rarely would you get 2 pieces of anything, unless it's kind of like the glutinous rice dumplings with the lotus leaves. Otherwise, it always comes in 3. So this is a little obscure. But this one is 4 pieces, that's 3. All right, I think we're good. And and then that's just scallop, right, on broccoli, and then I believe it's some kind of oyster sauce on top. This one over here, there's like some chili sauce here, and do you like spicy?
I love spicy.
Okay, there you go. And this one is definitely, this on the table will tell you you're not in Hong Kong. It's like, this is a kind of, I believe, like sweet chili paste,
Yeah,
right?
it's a sweet chili.
It's like exclusive to almost like Southeast Asia, right? So you know, this is the giveaway that I'm not in Hong Kong, you know. But
right.
still good. It will work, I think. And then you have the soy sauce over here. Okay. One thing that may be missing is was Worcestershire sauce. What do you call that? Like the
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce. That would be the only thing that's missing over here. Or vinegar, maybe. Oh, but actually there are two. Okay. So we have to ask Jay about this one. What is this?
Nook, actually, this might be vinegar because nook usually means water.
Okay.
So it could be like fish sauce or. Actually, it smells like soya, but let me see.
Okay, then what does this smell?
Soya.
What about this one?
Ooh, no, vinegar.
Okay,
Vinegar.
so this is legit. You would need to have the dark vinegar and soy sauce to go with dim sum in general. If we have had fish sauce, then again that's another giveaway because Cantonese dim sum, Hong Kong dim sum wouldn't really have fish sauce.
Yeah, fish sauce, Southeast Asia, definitely.
Exactly, but that's the only thing. Otherwise, the presentation looks very like above a pass. This is an A- what we're seeing. So let's dig in.
But what do you guys think? Because you're the Hong Kong local, so does it live up to it or?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't tried the egg tart because that is a tricky one to make. It's kind of like the croissants, you know how the baguettes. You can tell the bakery is good type of thing. But everything else is delicious. This soya noodles really good. What did I have? Actually, I haven't had that much because I was talking too much. So, what do you think, X Bert?
Yeah, so I think that this meal is pretty good overall. Like the dim sum is really well put together. It's not sloppy at all. You know, they just did a good presentation, I would say. And yeah, the noodles are nice and crisp, and they've been stir fried, not too oily.
No, not too oily at all.
Yeah.
Really nice food.
And I guess I need to try a egg tart because the last time I had an egg tart was in Portugal. So here we go. I'm gonna try the egg tart and see what it's like. Wow, they're not sweet at all like in Portugal.
Okay.
They're like way more mellow sweetness. They're not cinnamony and sweet like the Portuguese one, but it's like,
Yeah.
I think you're probably the more expert at
Yeah,
this
I'm
one.
gonna try this one. So, one of the most quintessential classic Hong Kong bakery item that you will find in a dim sum restaurant is the pineapple bun. It has nothing to do with the pineapple. However, here they do that bun. It's essentially like a sweet, spongy bun, and sometimes they would put a piece of butter in the middle of it. But here they put the barbecue pork, and hence we didn't order that. So we ordered this guy, and we'll see what it's like. Okay. So, there are two types of crust normally you'll find in Hong Kong when it's an egg tart. The first type of crust is an egg crust, so it's more like a tart crust, if you will. And this one, if you see, there are multiple layers. See, I'm peeling them off. So 1 layer, 2 layers. So this is more the Portuguese style, okay? So, this one is a bit more like flaky, not as eggy. Yeah, it's good. I would say the size is smaller than a regular egg tart you'll find in a Hong Kong dim sum or Hong Kong restaurant. But not bad.
So Vietnam is doing okay. Vietnam Chinatown is not bad.
Saigon, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so what am I here? Saigon Chinatown.
Saigon, Chinatown. Haven't tried Hanoi yet, but this is good.
They don't
I
really
would
have a
say
specific Chinatown up there, not the way they do down here.
In Hanoi now.
No. They have Chinese people, but it's just, this is more like a cohesive Chinatown like Bangkok, you know?
Oh, one thing interesting I noticed, because it's kind of like a dim sum restaurant, but it's not like the kind where you have the push carts. You know, that's like very traditional. That everything like actually the steam like in your face, and then they would scroll around, and you would just pick the dish you want from the cart. But we don't have that. But it's an adapted version. It's as amazing, just different.
Try this one, yeah. Get in there.
But hagao, shrimp dumpling, is one of the really, I would say, the prime or the primary also item that you would be able to tell if the shifu, the chef, the person who makes the dim sum here is good or not, because it requires such a thin, you know, like the skin, if you will, that you can see the color of the shrimp, but it's not broken when you lift it from the basket. So this one kind of passed the test. Again though, because it's not like steamy hot, so then it's kind of, you know, it's playing handicap in a way. Really, really good. This one is a very generous size type of shrimp in here, as you can see. And I'm just gonna dip it in the. So I mixed up this like vinegar with soya with chili oil in one.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
Say no more.
I'm happy. I'm happy it passes the test. The Chanlor.
But the hagao is good.
Cho Lon is cool.
Yeah, it's good.
I wanted to give you this one here.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about the noodles, because in Southeast Asia there's all kinds of noodles. You know, rice noodles, egg noodles, and even if it's just like rice, eggs, or wheat, it's like different shapes, different lengths, different curls. And this one is kind of egg noodles that don't stick together. So they do this one right, because it's a stir-fried noodles. And then they throw in a lot of bean sprouts and spring onions and shrimps, and this is what squid?
I think it's a cuttlefish possibly, but it
Cuttlefish, that's right, I think so. And then I think the proportion between the shredded vegetables and the noodles and then the seafood, like they do it right. And then it just tastes, legitimate Hong Kong. It doesn't have any Vietnamese, twist to it. So if you're in Saigon, you love Cantonese food, you miss some dim sum wherever you're from, then this place is definitely a B+, if not more. Chinese mushrooms.
Oh, it's a Chinese mushroom. I thought it was meat.
Mushrooms.
It's very mushy, but like soft.
So whenever you see this kind of like almost sea cucumber looking mushroom, like darker, like brownish, chewy, then it's also a very Cantonese thing. Because, if they had thrown in some white button mushrooms here, then that wouldn't be quite, authentic, if you will. But this kind of mushrooms, we do use that a lot in Hong Kong, stir-fry noodles and meat stew and things like that.
Come again. Bai Cham Samui Bon. Okay. So it's 764.
Oh, that's good.
Mochu. 1 million. Mochu.
Right.
And 500 is Nam Cham.
How did you learn
Nam Cham Nyan.
Vietnamese? Did you guys have a whiteboard? Did you write down the phonetics, like, that you would understand?
We
Not the
did.
phonetics, but like the alphabets.
We like started learning the alphabet, but we learned it more from like we had two or three teachers.
We had a few teachers.
Yeah, we had a few teachers, and then we would always practice. Like in school with our TA, the TA, she barely speaks English anyway, so we can go ahead and practice with her. Then when we get a motorbike ride, we can practice with that guy. So
I learned
we just-
directions from a motorbike guy.
Yeah,
I learned
sometimes they teach you. If you don't know, they'll point, they'll teach you, and then you try to remember. But yeah, we learned mostly by doing it.
So like the numbers for the money is big, so a lot of times people say it's shorter. So for example, if I say Nam Cham, I'm really only saying 500.
Yeah.
But really it's Nam Cham Nyan, 500,000. Nyan is 1,000.
Yeah.
So Mot Nyan is 1,000.
They cut the 1,000. Just like the taximeters only has like the first Like
Yes.
it's like, sorry, it's like 3 decimals not there, like through 000. So it was like 79 whatever today.
79,000.
79,000.
Right.
It says 79 on the meter.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's Bai Chin Nyan.
Yeah.
Right. Mon Hai Ba Mon Nam Sao Bai Tam Chin Moi.
Yeah, that's right.
Hi, yo.
Mon Hai Ba Yo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I can catch.
Cheers.
Ba Ba Ba.
Yeah.
Tiger. Nyut.
333.
Ba Ba Ba.
Yeah, so it's like 888 in Cantonese.
Right.
Ba is 8.
Oh.
Ba is 8.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
So
that's
when you said
confusing.
ba ba ba, I was like, this is 333.
Yeah, 333, the
They
beer.
said no, it's ba in Vietnam. So it's really interesting. The whole match of nuances.
So, how much was that? Who has XE on their phone? Let's see.
Oh yeah, let's.
I think I have
translate.
XEs.
$27.
$27.
So let's try
He's
to
like
see
a
it.
human converter.
That's very good for
Cool.
4 people.
Is
That's
it on here? Do you get
Yeah,
this
he's gonna check.
$27.
Let's see, it's loading.
it's loading.
Maybe $28.
Okay.
It's like what, 79? 190.
769.
Was it 769? It was.
000. 000. Yeah.
It's roughly like it. If this is correct, I think it's about 33.
Oh, it's 33. I'm way off.
Was I right?
That was way off.
Was I close?
No, it's 33.
Yeah, mine's close. Yeah, same. Yeah, but still, that's not bad for 4 people.
Yeah. It's
And like I'm reasonably full. I don't know, are you? Or like,
Yeah.
but not stuffed. But
a lot of
like,
shrimps.
Yes.
Like that's kind of seafood.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
about $33 to feed 4 people, and
Very fancy restaurant.
a very nice restaurant. And what's the verdict? Come on in.
Yeah, guys, it's pretty good over here. It's definitely authentic Cantonese style in a very nice setting restaurant, and the kitchen looks very clean down there. The fresh seafood is down there waiting for us to pick the seafood out, and yeah, it's pretty good and fresh.
Yeah, like $33 US for 4 people. A lot of shrimp dumplings we had. As you could see, we ordered 11 items and we're reasonably full. So yeah, it's good, really good. I would recommend it if you would want legitimate Hong Kong's dim sum in this area.
Yeah, and just the way they crafted all of the different dim sum pieces, it's just perfectly precise. It's not falling apart when you take a bite of something. It's just really well done. So
Yeah, and also in Southeast Asia, you eat street food quite a lot, you know, if you want the authentic experience. And this is a proper sit down, you know, with very thoughtful decorations, you know, very hygienic. What else? I was gonna say, yeah, AC, that's important as well. So yeah, it's a whole experience. Also, if, you know, you're one of those who, you know, would like Instagram moments or corners set up, then this is a perfect place. I guess you will spend another 10-15 minutes just to take your Instagram photos. Because
It's definitely Instagrammable.
it's very Instagrammable. So if you're one of those people, yeah, this would be like a little Disneyland for you.
All right, guys. Subscribe, brush your teeth, stay in school, eat your vegetables. Subscribe to Food X Bert. We'll put his links in the comment section below. Make sure to stay in school, eat your vegetables. If you're thinking about coming to Saigon and you want somebody who can arrange the visas and do all the other, you know, kind of tricky, weird alleyway kind of behaviors, I'm your man. Hit me up if you want to come to Thailand. We can do whatever you need done in Thailand, Cambodia, the Balkans. Brush your teeth.
Brush your face and wash your teeth, son.
Hey, what's up? I'm D from Canada. Hook up with the New York Nomad if you want a smooth ride into Vietnam or any Southeast Asian countries.
Hey, my name is Aaron. Get in contact with the New York Nomads. If you want to get into Vietnam, hit them up. They'll get you in securely and professionally.
Yo, this is Uncle Hollywood. I'm telling you right now, the New York Nomad got me a job. He's legit. Hit him up, check him out.
New York Nomad set me up in Vietnam.
Yo, my man got me a job. Come to Vietnam.
Hey, what's up, guys? You thinking about coming to Vietnam? You're not sure where to start? You've heard a lot of things online. You don't know what's true, you don't know what's not. We offer a consulting service where we help you get on your feet in Vietnam. We give you advice on negotiating contracts with employers. We help you with real estate agents, visa agents that are reliable and that you can trust. We help you get started in this amazing country and get on your feet. We help you get into different opportunities that might be more difficult for you if you were just landing in the country on your own. And we help you avoid a lot of the pitfalls and problems that you could have as a newcomer here. We provide you with reliable job recruiters, visa agents, real estate agents, and advice. If you guys are thinking about coming to Vietnam, hit us up for a consultation. We'll help you get started, help you get on your feet, and hopefully you'll love Vietnam as much as we do. Are you thinking of living, working, or doing business in Laos? Laos is an incredible country that's often overshadowed by its more well-known neighbors. It's a diverse country with a beautiful landscape and beautiful people. It offers a tremendous amount of opportunity for someone with an open mind. Are you thinking of retiring, working, doing business, or just living in a place where life moves at a different pace? If you're thinking about living and working in Laos, or doing any kind of business in Laos, reach out to us on the Facebook fan page because we have the contacts you need to make your transition to Laos smooth. We provide you with contacts for visas, housing, real estate, local fixers, and anything else you might need to get you started in this incredible country.